One idea, would you ever swap this for that? Well, desperate times call for clever solutions. This is On the Homefront, a sub-series of World War II in real time. I'm Anna Deinhard. I already spoke about food supplies in the first episode of this series, where I looked at rationing policy and how wartime governments fixed prices for some goods to ensure everyone got their fair share. It is all in the name of the country's war effort, and a great many citizens have dutifully tightened their belts in service to it. But networks of illegal trading have also emerged as farmers and industrialists who feel cheated out of their profits hold back their products and sell them at much higher prices. It affects all consumer products from butter to bicycles. In Germany, the black market is already in full swing before the war even begins. Actually, it emerges almost as soon as the Nazi state begins fixing prices and rationing everyday items in the service of the ever-expanding war economy in 1936. Rationing of food starts for the general public in August 1939, shortly before attacking Poland. Farmers who feel the Nazi government is failing on its promise of a better rural life devise schemes to get past rationing regulations. They might fail to officially register all of their livestock for slaughter and therefore slaughter more than the government knows about. Or they might cheat with the weight of animal carcasses to hold back good meat for illegal sale. Almost immediately, black market prices for things like meat explode. During the 2 years of the war, they are already 3 to 10 times as high as pre-war pricing. With so many joining the Gestapo or being drafted into the army, there are not enough policemen to investigate such illegal trading. Plus, inspectors from the Reichsnährstand, Reich Nutritional Estate, whose job it is to monitor trading activities, are often farmers themselves or related to farming families, and so turn a blind eye to black market activity. Similar practices become widespread on Poland once Germany invades and occupies in September 1939. Particularly in the German-controlled Generalgouvernement, any surplus food is exported back into the Reich to supply the population there. But many Polish farmers have no desire to feed the occupiers. The inefficiency of the Nazi administration makes it possible for smaller farmers to simply slip under the radar and retreat into self-sufficiency. Others downplay the size of their harvest or the quantity of the livestock in order to keep back foodstuff for themselves and the black market. Even though this is severely punished, sometimes even by death, these farmers count on the lack of German inspectors and the impossibility to check every shed or pigsty. They use every possible excuse for a smaller harvest, from hailstorms to plunder by partisans. It is not hard to find buyers for their held-back goods. City dwellers either travel to the countryside to buy food directly from the farms. Around Warsaw, a refined network of black markets starts to evolve. If you want meat, you can find farmers for it in Kyiv. If you want alcohol or tobacco, you can go to Leginovo or Rimboto. Ration stamps are also stolen from occupation authorities or forged and used as an alternative currency on the black market. For many Poles, ignoring restrictions becomes a patriotic duty. The German authorities blame the low production output in Poland on the Jews and their black market. The occupiers declare the end of illegal trade when the Holocaust gains pace, but it's a lie. The black market still thrives and supplies the famished Polish population with much needed food, siphoned off from official production. The reality is that Polish Jews have little to do with the supply side of black market, but depend on them as buyers to not die from starvation inside the intentionally poorly supplied ghettos. Their government rations provide them with only about 300 to 500 calories a day, far below the amount needed to maintain a minimum level of health. Non-Jewish professional racketeers make a business out of it and bribe the guards at the entrance in order to smuggle the food. This is usually always second-rate. One specialty of the Warsaw Ghetto black market, for example, is Dupniki. Sounds cute, right? Well, it isn't. Minced meat made from a cow's rectum. A body part discarded by butchers and smuggled into the ghetto. Bon appetit. On the Allied side, Britain and the Commonwealth countries also see their fair share of black market trading, but on a smaller scale. The British Ministry of Food takes control of livestock slaughtering in 1939, and over 11,500 farms and slaughterhouses have to close. Around 200 of them take up the knackery business, which is the collection of animal carcasses and the rendering of them into byproducts such as soap, glue, or gelatin. Despite the regulations, these knackeries also begin slaughtering old, injured, or ill animals illegally and sell the meat on the black market. Still, this all mostly remains a phenomenon of private trading. Neighbors will illegally swap food coupons, and grocers will favor their loyal customers with under-the-counter goods. Veer Hodgson, a British housewife, describes one incident in her diary. Went for my bacon ration, and while the grocer was cutting it, had a word with the man about a cubic inch of cheese. He got rid of the other customers and then whispered, "Wait a moment." I found half a pound of cheese being thrust into my bag with great secrecy and speed. There are similar stories in America, despite it not having joined the fight yet. To maintain supply for the Allies with Lend-Lease, everything from raw materials to canned goods to meat to gasoline and more is rationed. Again, we see private individuals looking to beat the system or turning a blind eye to under-the-counter transactions, like Helen Stutter from California. When I'd get home, I'd have 3 or 4 things on my bill that wasn't said out loud. I'd have a carton of cigarettes. There might have been a couple of pounds of margarine, or there may have been 5 pounds of sugar. I never knew what I was going to have. When Western and Northern Europe fall to Nazi Germany in 1940, here too, black market emerged. Illicit trading soars in Belgium. The National Food and Agriculture Corporation is set up by the German occupiers and fixes prices and controls agricultural supply. But it only manages to guarantee the population 1,000 to 1,500 calories per day. Again, black markets make up for the shortfall, bringing astronomical prices. In the pre-war days, a kilo of bread would normally cost around 2.6 francs, but by 1943 it will cost 49. More and more foodstuff is siphoned off for the black market as it is more lucrative to sell there, slipping through the fingers of the German occupiers. In occupied France in 1942 alone, an estimated 92 billion francs worth of basic food products is sold on the black market. German occupiers make use of this as well. The Vichy government is obliged to pay a tax to Germany to fund the cost of occupation. 15% of this is used by German economic agencies to buy luxury goods on the Vichy black market to supply their country. German soldiers and occupation officials too happily participate at the black market to send home luxury foodstuff from France. They also create black market networks across Nazi Europe, looting or bartering for goods in one occupied country and trading them somewhere else. It supplies the high life in the capitals of Europe. Suddenly, you can eat Russian caviar in Paris or drink real French cognac in Warsaw. General government Poland becomes a sort of hub for the black market trade between occupied Western Europe and the Eastern Front. There, following the German invasion in 1941, the government of the USSR unofficially sanctions black market trading. The Kolkats market, which illegally sell the surplus produced by the collective farms, have traditionally been a thorn in the government's side, and contrary to socialist principles of equal distribution of goods. In the late 1930s, many petty traders who frequent these bazaars were sent to labor camps or shot in mass operations to shut them down. But since the Great Patriotic War began, the government chooses to turn a blind eye to it, understanding the need to supplement food provided in a period of national emergency. They replace criminal sanctions for private selling with small fines not exceeding 300 rubles. The supply situation becomes so desperate that illicit trading is the only way for many Soviet citizens to survive. Even before 1941, people were hoarding food in fear of famine. The bread itself had become an alternate currency. 1 kilogram of black bread, which equals about 2 daily rations for a worker in the defense industry, can be swapped for 300 grams of meat, 2 liters of milk, or 2 kilograms of potatoes. The German occupation of the country's best agricultural land tightens officials' supply even further. In 1943, 82% of a household's budget for food will go to the black market. In Japan, it is no different than anywhere else during the war. Food supply is low, and workers travel into the countryside to barter for food with the farmers. Factory owners even buy food from the black market to distribute to their workers. The government tries to release more resources by exploiting the agriculture of the occupied countries, requesting huge quantities of rice from Burma well below market prices. But this just creates new black market economies, when Burmese farmers cut back on their production and sell their surpluses secretly. In the Philippines, Japanese exploitation and the following shortages drive the black market price for rice through the roof. The price for a kvaen of rice, which is 56 kilograms, rises from 6 to 7 pesos in 1941 to 30 pesos in 1942, when the US has entered the war. There, the economy now on war, fooding the soaring war industry, raises wages quickly. The national private income level doubles from 1941 to 1942. But with rationing and fixed prices, there's little opportunity for Americans to spend their new money, and it often ends up on, the black market. In May 1942, the New York Times comments, "As long as there is more cash to spend, then there are things to spend it on, and prices are not allowed to rise openly, they will rise privately." The US bootleg business is already more defined, if not bigger than it was in Prohibition's peephole days. I should say, though, that public consensus will increasingly fall on the side of price control. Around 90% will be in favor in the last years of the war. In general, in the course of the war, food supply drastically decreases, and therefore more and more goods are diverted to the black market, just as more and more people turn to it in order to survive. The Third Reich increasingly struggles with the short food supply as well, despite the early preparations for this aspect of the war. The occupied countries simply don't deliver enough goods to feed all the Germans anymore, as their economy is exhausted by the war and the black markets are swallowing up more and more products for the starving population to buy. To balance such losses, Nazi German economy agencies increasingly siphon off black market goods in occupied countries. German soldiers are told in March 1942 to collect as many foodstuff as possible and to send them home to their families. One way to do so, of course, is the local black market, and the cycle only deepens. In her diary, Naranja Melon writes of the riches her father brings home. He brought lots of things with him: clothes, stockings, dried beans, writing paper, liver sausage, carrots in meat sauce, gloves, soap, belts, shoes, washing powder, 4 pears and almonds, cinnamon and pepper. The table was full. Wherever the men are, they buy things. The black market is a wartime phenomenon that knows no pity for the poor. It may sometimes be a means to resist the occupying forces, but at its core, it is simply a way to stay alive against all odds. It shows that even for those lucky enough to be far from the front lines or the range of bombers, the struggles of this war must be reckoned with in every aspect of life. If you want to know more about the beginnings of Prohibition black market crime, you can click right here on our Between Two Wars Season 2 episode. And remember that we are all depending on you to support our effort. So join the Time Ghost Army on Patreon and ring that bell.